And welcome back to the Dean Obeidallah Show. Right now, very happy to have on the show Lisa Phillips, one of the outspoken Jeffrey Epstein abuse survivors. She was on Capitol Hill early in September with the other strong survivors, and she hosts a podcast called From Now On, it's interviews of survivors of abuse. Lisa, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Dean. Such a pleasure.
So, you were mentioning to me right before we started that it was in 2020 that you first came forward to share the abuse that Jeffrey Epstein put you through. What compelled you then in 2020 to go forward? And what were the things keeping you from coming forward before that?
Well, first of all, he was alive, so I never would have come forward.
Oh,
I would have felt some sort of betrayal because I had some sort of attachment to him from the grooming, from the earlier years, and I had major confusion around it. So me coming forward was just about getting answers and trying to figure out like what in the world did I go through and kind of coming to terms with the fact that I was abused. It's really hard to admit that.
right.
So it was Virginia Giuffre who came forward and she spoke about her abuse with Prince Andrew and others. And my experience on the island when I first went there, I had seen some things. And so
Hmm.
I wanted to support her. So initially it was just coming out because of her, not really because I was ready to say anything.
Well, that's interesting. And was it during Me Too? Was that also going on, or was it right before that?
I mean, I guess it was the Me Too. I never really got into, oh yeah, Me Too.
Right.
Uh, that whole bandwagon. I just don't think that was a really great movement. That title just didn't do anything for us. It was just more so when it comes to serial predators,
Hmm.
it's figuring out because they're master manipulators. So it's just figuring out what happened to you. It isn't cut and dry.
Right. And you know, when you were on Capitol Hill and speaking publicly there, was that challenging too? Was that a difficult decision?
Well, it was just the right timing.
Mhm.
Over the last couple years, a lot of survivors have been speaking out, not just serial predators, but all types of violence and abuse. The youth on TikTok, it's all over the place. So it's just the right climate for it. And then, I quit my job a year ago in the fashion industry. I'd been in the fashion modeling industry since I was a teenager. And I was just like, enough is enough. What can I do to serve people in this climate of people wanting to speak out? And I'm like, you know what? I'm a survivor. Let me stop hiding the shame that surrounds it and just, be this voice to say, you know what? I'm a successful woman. This happened to me and I want to help others. So with Capitol Hill, it was just 6 years, right? That we've
Yeah.
been dealing with. Why haven't we had any answers? Like the survivors know because we were there
Right.
what was going on, but so many people in government and politics and successful or wealthy people were trying to suppress everything. So that was just our moment to come forward and say, you know what, we're taking our power back. You can hold on to your list all you want to, but you know what, we have a list too. So it was kind of just that moment to poke at them a little bit to do something.
You said the line about you and the other survivors have been talking amongst yourselves and creating a list of your own names. And will that actually happen? And is it the idea of creating a list for internal for the survivors, or is it really to create it to release it to the public?
Well, when I spoke out at Congress, it was speaking to survivors out there to say, hey, let's own this. It's our
Hmm.
story. Come out. Let's talk about it. Let's build our own list together confidentially. It
Right.
really was about just us coming together and healing together. But we've been compiling our own list, let's say, or talking about the people, just cross-referencing our experiences for the last 5 years. Hundreds of us girls and
Wow.
hundreds have been interviewed or had uh, been represented by the same attorneys. So there's hundreds of us. And so I was speaking out to the other ones who were staying quiet, who were still in their shame, still processing, still healing, to say, "Hey, I've got you. Come talk to me."
Right.
It was that kind of thing.
Oh, it's very interesting. Channeling with Lisa Phillips. So when you said Epstein was not just a serial predator, he was an international human trafficker. Many around him knew. Was it who was protecting him that you know of? I mean, was it just the powerful people who were involved in the trafficking and and abusing the women and the children. Were there other people in power that you were aware of or get a sense of that were protecting Epstein through all these years?
Well, I think the people on the inside and the people who have gone through, trials or being deposed or seeing discovery, like with JP Morgan admitting to funding a sex trafficking ring, uh, we're aware that it wasn't Jeffrey acting alone. I mean, Ghislaine and him were servicing others. And I mean, that's a fact. Jeffrey wasn't doing this just for his own sexual gratification. He was building something out. He told me to have things on people. So the young girls were there to serve a purpose, a grander, bigger purpose, darker purpose. And, we're aware of that. I mean, how deep it goes and who's involved. I mean, they're keeping that pretty tight-lipped, right?
Mhm.
That's the whole problem here is we're not getting answers. And I'm not sure if we ever will get the real answers of what's going on.
Did he ever share what these, it sounds like it was a blackmail scheme and that it was to gather dirt on people in power to use it for his own advantage, either financial or just power. Did you ever have a sense of what was really going on?
Well, Dean, I mean, you hit it on the nail there. I mean, that's exactly what was going on. And I think all the girls that were around him that were kind of trapped in this web that we couldn't get out of, because we knew things. I mean, we could see him and we could hear who he's talking to. We could see who was on the island. We could see who was going in and out of his house. There was always rumors going around, but nobody really talked about it back then. It was all, this kind of, don't betray Jeffrey, don't talk too much. It's unfortunately 15, 20, 25 years later for a lot of the women. And I mean, the powerful people involved, they have that on their side, we can't really tell the difference between a lot of the men that we saw at, the parties or events and things like that. So,
Wow. I mean, where I'm not trying to get you to reveal anything you don't want to reveal, of course, and you're not going to reveal anything you don't want to reveal. But when you say people in power, were there princes, were there senators, were there well-known business people? Like, what can you give us a sense?
well, I can say that when I was on the island, I was brought there by another young girl. I saw a prince there. I could also say, because I've already said this,
Mhm.
I could say that between my model agency that Jeffrey introduced me to, he was very in with the modeling business, with several of the big agencies that were sending girls back and forth. This is a fact, my attorney's seen emails. So I know that there was some type of ring going on in the modeling industry. And I know that through him and my agent had sent me on a blind date, and the guy picked me up. He was a senator and he was like 40 years older than me. And I remember asking him, like, is your son coming? Like, was my date
Right.
with your son? Like, he was like, no, you're with me. And I was thinking, what? And I went back to my agency the next day. I was like, why would you set me up with a date with a man in his 60s? Right. So there was weird things like that going on.
It's remarkable. And what did Ghislaine Maxwell play a role that you saw?
Well, I met Ghislaine I was out with my girlfriends one night and Jeffrey called and said, oh, just where are you? I'm like, I'm with my girlfriends, like bring them all to my house. And so I did. It was like six girls and we went to his house. And because back then people thought highly of Jeffrey, he was
Right.
respected.
Mhm.
And we went to his house and we were brought up to this room in this library where there were like 10 men sitting around the table, and they were all older men and probably later 50s, 60s, and unrecognizable. They weren't famous, but
Mhm.
Ghislaine was there and she was introducing us all to them. And we just thought it was really odd. Like, why are we meeting these men? But you just like, you don't, I mean, you're a kid then, you don't really think so
Right.
much of it. You just kind of think it's weird and then you leave. Um, but those are the kind of odd things that were happening. Between now we know with Ghislaine and Jeffrey, they were probably, trafficking us. Like
Right.
you introduce it to a man, maybe he says, "Oh, I like that one," and then later on he calls you up to go meet with them. That's how Jeffrey operated. So it was a trafficking ring going on, but it was always in a very sneaky way that the girls didn't know what was going on.
And you said it was international human trafficking. I mean, did you get a sense there are people from other countries that, well, you mentioned a prince, so we don't have any princes here, so we know that's from another country. But did you get a sense that was an active part of this? What Epstein was up to?
Well, I had a girlfriend who was made to have sex with a prince. And that's where everything ended for all of us because she came back
Um,
and told us that she was forced to do something. And we were just like, what is going on here? Who is this person?
mhm.
And that's kind of when also the Vanity Fair with, Bill Clinton, he went to South Africa and everything was coming out about him. So we started to realize, and then I was friends with a lot of Eastern European models, that they were like a good quarter of the modeling industry at the time, and a lot of them had gotten their visas through Jeffrey to work, So, and I knew that because I had a good friend who first introduced me to Jeffrey on the island,
Mhm.
saying, "Yeah, he got me my visa to work here." And so I knew that was going on with some Eastern Europeans, but not a lot have come forward, and I think a lot of them are very frightened too, and I mean for good reason. So
I imagine Jeffrey Epstein had good connections with the government to get people visas. Like you wonder how deep, you wonder if this is bigger than we have a true understanding of right now. Like bigger than say like Watergate. Like it is very big, involving various people in various governments around the world. I mean, but when you understood there were powerful people involved, did it make you and the other women afraid for your own
yes,
safety
absolutely.
and financial
Absolutely.
safety? Yeah, to go
Absolutely.
forward. Yeah,
Yeah. No, we were very afraid.
I
We
imagine.
luckily he was getting in trouble at that time, so we were able to like move or get away from him. And yeah, he had so much power. I remember moving in 2004 to Los Angeles and my Ford modeling agency calling me up and saying, "Hey, we got a job, a casting for you with Victoria's Secret." I mean, that's like the biggest thing, and Jeffrey had
Right.
ties. And I remember being like, "No way am I going." And they're like, "What? Why would you not go?" Well, it's because I knew he had something to do with it. Try to like reel you back
Oh,
in. So he had this power
oh,
over you because he knew all the dreams and aspirations of every girl. I'm talking about the girls in New York, the ambitious
right.
young girls. I'm not talking about the girls in Florida, the underage, who had a very different experience, but I mean, the same abuse, but different experience.
So you were all the people that you were involved with and that you saw, the women, they were all adults. This was not a
Yeah, I
situation like
mean, we
West Palm
were we
Beach
were
with
over eight.
children. Right.
Sorry, yeah, sorry.
Oh,
Yeah, we were 18 to 24.
so did you ever see Donald Trump? Which I have to ask, of course.
That's the thing amongst all of us survivors that have come forward. None of us had seen Donald Trump. None of us. We have seen other presidents or royalty, but it wasn't Trump that we saw. Not to say he
Interesting.
wasn't involved or he was involved. We just don't have any experiences with him.
Right. I mean, there was another survivor who spoke on Capitol Hill saying how Jeffrey, and this she was in Florida, and that Jeffrey bragged about knowing Trump and Ghislaine bragged about knowing Trump. And there's so many images of them together. So it's not even
Right, I get that.
mystery. Like some people saw it, some people didn't. That's all. I think it was
Yeah,
more
but
in
I
Florida.
think billionaires all hung out together, and I think pictures together doesn't really mean that they were part of a ring,
True.
the
Right.
darker ring. Yeah.
We don't know. We don't, and you never met Trump in New York, and even though he was up here, and that says something about whatever's going on in Florida was a whole different world, and we don't
Whole
know.
different world.
Yeah, I don't know. So when you said on at Capitol Hill that you want Congress to choose between to either protect predators or give us protect the survivors by releasing the documents, that was early September. We're at the end of September now, and only three Republicans have signed on. They need a fourth. They can't get it. Democrats have signed on, and a new one was elected last night, literally, which will get them to the point of getting the discharge petition. Have you ever talked to members of Congress, Republicans, ever say, well, why won't you just release this, or their staff, and say, why won't you just release these documents?
We tried to speak to Republicans. We have sent letters. They're not speaking to us. Ironically, the Democrats have been very supportive.
Right.
So, we met with the Democratic Women's Caucus, all of them. I mean, we were all in tears together, exchanging
Wow.
stories. They were really empathetic and really very, very supportive. We're thankful for that.
And when you spoke to the other survivors, can you give us a sense? What do they want? Like, what would be help them heal? Because some talked about giving us the documents to heal. Is it still prosecuting people if the statute of limitations hasn't run? Like, what will do the most good for the survivors?
Well, I mean, we haven't seen any justice. I mean, besides Ghislaine, which is a woman, we haven't
Right.
seen any justice, and it hurts us, to know that this man took advantage of us, abused us, groomed us, hundreds of us, and like no one's really held accountable for it. So yeah, I mean, we are healing.
Right.
A lot of us are in, therapy and we want answers, but it's more so just having a conversation to educate the public of what's really going on. I mean, we're probably never going to get the justice that we want or need or deserve, but the education of what's going on really helps too.
It does. I was going to ask you, does it help on some level so that
Oh
people
yeah.
know the story of what's going on, this massive predator ring, and that powerful men, whoever they were, and many were involved, protected Jeffrey Epstein, where this DOJ said there was over 1,000 victims, a
Yes.
thousand going
Yes.
on for years, right
Yes.
beneath the surface. So many people protected Jeffrey Epstein. This is what is
Yes.
stunning to me, that this took place in New York, in Florida, in other
Mm.
parts of the country, in other parts of the world. And people saw it and they turned a blind eye. They didn't care. They didn't care about women. They cared more about the powerful men. I guess a lot of that's part of the calculation.
They definitely cared more for the powerful men. Yeah, they've just had more power. I mean, even Ghislaine said, "Oh, they're nothing. They're just like, worthless girls in Florida, trashy." Like she didn't care, She had this air about her. She didn't care about those girls, and it's just like it's heartbreaking because so many survivors have taken their lives over this, spiraled
Wow.
out of control. I know
Right.
many,
Really? Because I know
yeah,
Virginia did. Obviously, she's famous. It's well known,
yes,
sadly enough. But others did as well. I didn't know that.
yes, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
cycle of abuse. So,
So, I hope the files get released. I hope they bring some more healing and solace for people. We're we're going to find out. There's going to be a vote at some point now because of the election results. So I wanted to touch on your podcast from now on. You interview survivors of abuse. Can you share a little bit about it and what's the mission behind it?
mm. I think I just had this. I went through therapy
Hmm.
and I was able to own my story. And then I was able to realize, it wasn't my fault. I was just a young girl. I didn't really know what was happening to me. And I was up against, the biggest like, predator, groomer, manipulator we've probably ever seen. He's a genius, the way that he knows how to maneuver through people, not just
Right.
young girls, but like he had control over many powerful men. And so for me, it's really big on educating. So also taking the survivors and listening to their stories and listening to their healing process and going through those modalities, what they used and what helped them to pass through their abuse and to support them. And through that, so many, I mean, hundreds of people have reached out saying, okay, I want to talk about this too. This happened to me. And I spoke about serial predators a lot. Larry Nassar had almost the same MO as Epstein,
Mhm.
Bill Cosby's and the Weinsteins and those types of predators. But it turned into all different types of abuse, which I wasn't really prepared for. Like child abuse and, the stalking stuff is horrible,
Right.
horrible
Right.
what some of these people have gone through. Men too, I support men too. I'm a boy mom, so I support men. I'm not a men basher.
Right.
And I know there's really great men out there. So, I don't just speak to women. So I open up this platform just to have these conversations. And the overall theme is education because people look at victims and say, oh, you should have known better. Oh, you were 20. Come on. Like if I was there on the island, I would have ran away. Like, come on. Like, you don't know when you're up against these types of people what you're up against. So I wanted to take that shame away and be
Mhm.
like, you know what? Here's what really is going on and having this platform. And for us, that's our justice for now.
And, and no, and when you say take the shame away, is that partly personal, but also partly our society that it doesn't believe a lot of times women who come forward? So you're going to do this brave thing and say you've been abused, and instead of being supported, you get
Yeah.
vilified, especially if it's involving a very powerful man.
Oh, yes, it's bad. It's so, I mean, look at P. Diddy and Cassie. Nobody believed her until they saw the video of her. And
Right.
then everyone can't say anything now. But it's almost like you have to show this proof. But who has proof? I mean, Jeffrey wouldn't let us take any pictures. Like, who has the proof?
Oh, really? He wouldn't let you take pictures when you
No,
were
he doesn't
actually.
have pictures, but he videoed everything on his island and everything in his house. So he has the proof. I wonder where that is, Dean.
I'm gonna. And do you know? Have any? Does anyone know? Do any other survivors have any idea where? Because that's the key evidence. If there was a blackmail scheme, that there's evidence of it. Because there was a black. There's no doubt there was a blackmail scheme. We know he's making his money this way, right? So, however, for whatever reason he was doing it. Common sense says that. I wonder because I know there was video equipment when I watch the documentaries in LA, in California, not LA, in Florida, I should say. And I imagine in New York as well,
Oh
here,
yeah.
not far
Yes,
from
in New
where I live.
York there was cameras everywhere. So that room I told you that I went in with those 10 older men and the young girls, there was cameras in there.
Oh yeah, that was also in the documentary. He had a room where he could watch everyone. That this is a huge thing, and no one took it seriously. Like when you look back at now the sweetheart deal that he got in 2008 from Alex Acosta. I think Alex Acosta is just a figure. He's the U.S. attorney at the time in the
Yeah.
administration, and they're going to protect other powerful men. Is that the sense you got of why he got this amazing deal when they knew there were so many other victims?
Well, I heard Alex speak out recently, and I kind of have to agree with him. He didn't know this massive case and what was
Right, right.
going to unfold. He didn't know that at that time, and I'm sure he was just protecting him the way everybody was. And probably his hands were tied, and probably there was nothing he could do. And when he says he feels really bad for the victims, I believe him. I think a lot of men feel bad for the hundreds of
Sure.
victims that he was assaulting. Right? But I mean, to do something about it is different. I don't think he had the power to do anything and say, hey, I'm going to stand up for these victims. I mean, calling young girls, 13 and 14 years old, a prostitute when they had no idea that's what was going to happen to them is not fair. It's not okay.
No,
That deal was pretty disgusting that he got, but
oh,
I'm
it's
not surprised he got it.
right. No, that Alex Acosta was the vessel for a bigger deal that was
Yes,
so a
exactly.
lot of people were involved, and I think there were Democrats with power as well who were very happy this was going to go away.
Oh,
I
sure.
don't think this is one party or the other, to be blunt. I mean, I think this is
No.
powerful men that transcends party. And
Yes.
like when you hear Trump say it's a hoax, does that bother you, or do you look at it in a compartmentalized way that he's talking politics?
I think he's talking politics. I think Donald Trump knows the girls were abused. I mean, he's well aware of it. I think he even said, I know that they're, probably telling the truth,
Mhm.
right? But I think also his hands are tied, that he can't do anything either. Because I mean, I think he led with, I'm going to release this list. And I feel like he was all I'm going to, probably until he saw what was on there
Right.
and protecting someone close to him on there or himself or many other of his friends and people in power. So, I mean, that's just like common sense, right?
Sure. I think it's all of the above. I think you're 100% right. It could be him, it could be others. There's something there that is making him actually anger parts of his own base, which he usually doesn't do, to keep
Yeah.
this secret. So we know it's bad. Last thing, Lisa, what can men do who are listening to be supportive, to be there? Because there are a lot of good men, right? There are the bad men and there's the good men. How do we be better men?
Oh, I love this question. No one ever asked me that. Men to be supportive. Actually, after speaking out at Congress, I had so many men reach out to me in support.
That's great.
Right. So many that were just saying, gosh, I feel for you. Like I have daughters, if this happened to my wife, it just so many men want to support.
Right.
And I'm so grateful for that because this isn't a thing of just like we're not speaking up and saying we hate men and all men are horrible.
Right.
I feel bad for men that they can't even approach a woman anymore if they think she's cute. They can't even walk up to her and be like, "Hi, how are you?" Because we'll be like, "Ew, pervert, run away." You know?
Right.
It's like it's so bad right now. And I want to get back to the fact that there are really good men out there. And so continue to support us and any survivors and stand up for them.
I that's great advice. Lisa, it was great meeting you again. Lisa's podcast is from now on interview survivors of abuse, and I so appreciate and the bravery that you took. It's understatement to say it's brave because
Thank
what
you.
you had to navigate through to get there, and you're sharing with us. But thank you, Lisa, and hopefully we'll chat in the future when there's some good developments, and you can share how the survivors are feeling. Are they feeling more healing? I hope we have something in the future that can do that.
Me too.
All right.
Thank